Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, your host. We are so glad you are with us today. Our show is focused on marketing and business and how we can help you, the small and medium-sized business owner, do something maybe a little better. We are very excited. We're coming to you from my own personal LinkedIn page. I just got my own LinkedIn Live account. We've been running it on our company page for many, many years. Well, I shouldn't say years, months. And now we're able to move it to my personal page, and I have more connections on my personal page. So glad you're here if you're connecting with us from that page. We're also on Twitter. So this is a pretty notable show. Very excited that we've added a couple of platforms to our distribution. This has been a great week. We're in the middle of November here in Atlanta. There's a lot of exciting things going on in our area, but nothing better than a few leaves falling. The trees are beautiful. It's getting cooler. It's a little crisper at night. So we love that. I know I personally really like that. It's time to pull out a couple of sweaters. That's a great thing when you live in Atlanta. This show is named How's Your ePresence? Produced by ePresence, a full-service social media agency. It is produced by Morgan Wood, our social media, and really, she does everything. She is our handy person around LinkedIn. We appreciate all the work that she does. We're always creating content that will help you on the marketing side. So if you're someone that's looking for a marketing solution, go to our YouTube channel. We have everything categorized there, and you can look for a show that may answer a question that you have on business. So, for example, some recent shows that we have had was the last one was how to create short revenue producing video with Chris Bogue. That's really cool. Video is so important today. Well, why not use video just to send to someone that's a prospect through email? That's a great way to connect with them. He talks about some of those tricks. Here's another one that was a recent show, how to run an e-commerce shop with Catherine Smith of Walton Birch. More and more things are out there. Go check our channel. You'll see things about how to market your local business, how to grow your SEO, how to build great website, how to just market in general. All of those topics are on our website. We always run our shows live, and we're running them on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter all at the same time. Go to any of those channels and track it down. And if you miss it, we're always dropping the shows as a podcast later. So definitely subscribe to our show through your podcast app, whichever is your favorite podcast app. We are there. I will guarantee it. We always run our shows on Tuesdays at 10 or on Thursdays at 3 p.m. So here it is, Thursday at 3, and we are joining you live. If you're watching the show, send us a question. If you send a question to us here, we will throw it on the screen and ask our wonderful guest that question. Or if you don't have a question, totally cool. Just type in the comments bar where you're tuning in from. We would love to share that with our audience as well. We have people who listen to us all over the world. Love to always share those great destinations. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about how what business people need to do to improve themselves so they can be more effective. We're going to talk about how you can manage your time better. There's only one way I know how to manage my time better, and it is to pray that I get an extra 20 hours in a week. So maybe our guest will tell us how to get extra 20 hours. And we're going to talk about the failures that we have in business, and can you bounce back from a failure? If you are here for the first time, we'd love for you to subscribe on whatever channel you're on, and I think it's going to show up on that side. Yes, hit that subscribe button, especially on YouTube. If you do subscribe, you'll get a notification when we go live. That gives you a chance to pop in and ask a question. Remember, we'd like to have our guest answer your questions, so be sure to drop those in there. And if you're subscribed, you'll know when we go live. All right, so let's talk about our great show today. We have a spectacular guest joining us. His name is Terry Warren. Terry is an executive coach. He has an unbelievable list of experience. One of them is that he was with Willis Towers Watson for some 28 years, did a variety of things there, but he started his career with Hospital Corporation of America as a management consultant. He went through all of these career positions, learning more and more about management. where he eventually started his own executive coaching firm called Warren Executive Coach. He has experience with the Vanderbilt Coaching Network, and he also is an artist. So this is someone who loves art, has his own art studio, sells his own art, but is also someone that you definitely want in your camp to help you learn how to be a better business person. I love it that he got a, now we'll have to ask him what this means, an MSIM in industrial management at Georgia Tech. So we'll ask him what MSIM is. If you know, you could slap it in the comments. We'd love to know what that is. All right, so folks, just remember, if you have a question, throw it in the chat box. We will ask Terry that question when he comes on, and we just would love your participation. All right, I think I've talked enough. Let's see if we can find Terry out there. Where are you, Terry? There you are.
Here I am in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville. Wow. You know, why do they call it Nash Vegas?
The best way I could answer that is come to Nashville and visit downtown.
Just come and see it yourself, huh?
You will know.
You know, I have been to Nashville a few times and really do love that city, and love getting on Broadway and just walking up and going into the bars. But it's been a little while. I hear all of them are brand new. They've all been renovated, because I was used to going into the bars when, well, they looked a little worn, would be a good way to describe them. But I guess they're pretty new now.
Yeah, and you would certainly not be alone walking down the street now.
You know, it's great for Nashville. What a great city, great people. Love that city. And it's great that another great city in the South is growing and getting some attention. So I'd love to jump into some things here. You ready to go? I got lots of questions to grill you.
Bet.
We're gonna really push you hard. Are you ready for that, Terry?
Absolutely.
So first of all, share with us a little bit more about your background and your experience in executive management. What I'd love to do is let our audience see all the great things that you've done, which really prepares you for the role that you're in today.
Yeah, you covered a number of the roles, that I've played in different places. Most of them in some form or the other have been in management. I've run an internal management consulting group. I've headed sales. I was the CEO of a small division of Willis Towers Watson long ago. I've done strategic planning. Just lots of things at what I would call the corporate executive level, all of which have just been wonderful and very different experiences. I like variety.
Yeah, I love that too. Variety is fantastic. Did you write a book recently or working on one?
I did. I published a book in June called The Art of Choice.
The Art of Choice. And give me a little nugget. First of all, how long did it take you to write it? And what was your desire? Why did you write it?
Well, first of all, it took me probably 3 years. And the book is about helping people make transformational changes in their life or work. That's really the essence of what it's about. And the real reason behind it is I felt that there's something around this idea that there's a lot of power in making a conscious choice to do something.
Right.
And that really drove me I saw it in my practice, and I decided I wanted to talk to a bunch of people who'd really been successful, see if there was a time that they made a choice that made a huge difference in their career. And every one of the 21 people I talked to could give me several stories about doing that. And so my view was I had no intention of writing a book, never had any interest in it whatsoever. It was a painful process, but I felt like people needed to know. People needed to have very practical, accessible ways to think about making transformational changes, whatever that looks like to them. It's different for different people.
Right. And it is. And transformational change is hard. I'll be honest. I think every day I get up and I start trying to think of the ways that I can change all those things that I'm doing wrong. And it's very good to it's very good. It's easy is probably a better way to put it, to focus on all the things that we're doing wrong and think, gosh, there's no way I'm going to fix that. So let me ask you this. You've done this a lot. You've talked to a lot of business leaders. You've been a consultant for in many roles over the years. What have you found is the one thing that business people need to improve? If there seems like to be a one common denominator, what is the one thing that you see again and again and again?
You're probably going to be surprised at my answer, but my answer is increase your self-awareness.
Self-awareness. So what does that mean, self-awareness?
That means, to me, it means have a real good understanding of yourself and how you feel you come across to others. But the flip side of that a lot of people don't get is understanding the impact that how you come across has on others.
Huh.
So many times we may go, I'm very direct, right? I hear that a lot. I'm just direct. And people like, someone who's direct. And by the way, being direct is a good thing.
Sure.
Direct communication is very important. But people may not understand that the way in which they are direct is devastating to the people on the receiving end.
Huh.
If I give you a quick illustration, I had a client
Please.
when I first started coaching. We were working on the fact that he was like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Seen it too, by the way.
In his style. Yeah, in his style. And so we started talking about this idea of, I don't know that we even used the word self-awareness, but we started talking about the concept. And he did something, I didn't ask him to do this, but the next time we spoke, he said, I went home and I got my children together. And he said, I asked them, what's it like being on the receiving end of me?
Huh.
And he said, I didn't like the answer.
Wow.
And it was a wake-up call. Because basically his children told him the same things that were making him like a bull in the china shop at work.
You know what? So there's a funny side of me that it hears the story and I think it's fantastic they asked the question, because a lot of people that go through life don't even ask the question and they don't
Right.
even realize the impact that they make. But that's brilliant. Yeah, we've all been in those organizations or work for that person who was the bull in the china shop, and you're just quite frankly afraid of them, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult to operate in that environment because everybody is running around walking on eggshells because they don't want the bull running them over, right?
Yep.
That's interesting. There's a challenge with that though. Leaders, owners of businesses, presidents of companies, CEOs of companies can easily end up with, the emperor's has no clothes. I forget what's the name of that book is, right? So,
Yeah.
The emperor's walking around with no clothes and nobody's going to tell him because they're afraid to approach them. How do you suggest leaders get that feedback in an honest way from people that may be a little bit afraid to tell them the truth?
Well, there's several different ways, honestly. One is, sometimes when I'm coaching people, I do what I call an in-person 360, where
Okay.
I interview a list of people that give me a full view of them
Hmm.
with the absolute commitment that their individual responses is confidential.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm giving back to the other, and a way I really like that's very practical, I think, for any leader. I think in any organization, leaders have some people that they really trust. And they know those people will be honest with them.
Good. Yeah.
And so, for example, one of the challenges I give people is, let's just say that they're working on this idea, how I'm coming across. I tell them to go find an accountability partner, somebody that you really trust, who will be around you and observe you in meetings, in interactions, whatever, and
Right.
give them permission to give you
Oh,
feedback after the fact. So in other words, you go to them and say, hey, Bill, James, Sue, whoever it is, I'm working on trying to be better at this or that.
mm-hmm.
And I need your help. And so I'd like to give you permission. Would you be willing to let me know, after a meeting, an encounter, whatever, phone call, whatever it is, how you think I came across relative to this aspect I'm working
Oh, that's cool.
on.
That's really
That is a
smart.
powerful tool.
Yeah, that's really smart. And you're giving them the permission, and you could even say, look for this. So there may be something specific
Right.
you're working on. I think that a lot of the people watching this have run a meeting before, and there's things, and they wonder, am I getting my message across? And
Mhm.
and it could be that the message is being confused with some other things. If you try to minimize whatever those distractions are, you could probably get that message to come across a little better.
Yeah.
Terry, for the record, you are right. I am surprised by that. That is not what I thought you would say. So that's fantastic.
I didn't say it was the only thing. I just said
Sure,
it's a good starting place.
that's a really smart spot. So I mentioned time in the teaser at the beginning of the show. Time is a struggle, right? There's always
Right.
there's a finite number of minutes in a day. How do you help leaders figure out a way to get those minutes to be more productive?
I read a book a few years ago. Am I allowed to mention a book?
Absolutely.
And it's a book, it's called Essentialism, and it's The Disciplined Pursuit of Less
Hmm.
by Greg McKeown, or McKeowen. And there's a couple things that Greg says in here, but he has
So,
one little bitty
hey
chart.
Terry,
Yeah.
show that book again up on the
Okay.
screen here. Well, so we can get it. There we go. Good.
Let me hold it back now. You got it?
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, go on
All
now.
right. Yeah, I want to show you one thing in it that, in my view, this little simple diagram says a lot. So can you see this little diagram on the other side?
So,
Sorry, over here.
yep. I
Basically, it's
can't read the
energy.
words, but
That's all right.
yeah,
It's about energy.
yep.
It's
Good.
the same word in both circles.
Got it.
And it's the idea of, if your energy is focused on what's essential, you're going to accomplish so much more than if your energy is going everywhere. And, I just highly recommend the book to everybody.
Good.
But even if you don't read the book, it's a way to filter all the stuff that you have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Is this essential?
Right.
Might be important. It might feel like it's urgent, but is it essential?
Mm.
And if it's not,
Essential.
maybe you shouldn't be doing it. It's
I
really the idea of asking yourself the question throughout whatever you're doing: is this the best use of my time right now?
I find, and there's a few things and some tools that I try to help focus, but I do like that word essential. Is this essential? Because if you do focus on those essential things, you're going to be more successful. And I think we all understand that. So I really do like that. And we will, and I bet Morgan can find this. Morgan, you can find that book. Let's put that in the show notes as we go.
And Mark, one just quick thing about it is that, and I like the word essentialism. And it's just around the idea. The other way to think about it is, let's just say that you have 10 things that you need to do.
Okay.
One of those things, which may actually be harder, more time consuming, but if you focused on it, would have a greater impact down the road than all the other 9 things. So if I take the time to do this now, how will I, in my own time, or how will my company, or how will my organization be far better off because I focused the time on this now?
And that, I think, is the key to essentialism. So that's the definition of what is essential: is if I do this now, it'll have a positive impact in the future, versus some of the things that we get involved in that should be, quite frankly, delegated,
Yep.
that are important, right? And I'm not going to say that other things are not important, but if you can give them to someone else, it can help them grow, it can help them learn. But it is today and now, some of those fires that need to be put out, let that be handled by the team so they can grow and you focus on long term. Is that kind of in that essentialism
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
there?
And again, because I like stories or examples, let me just give you a quick one.
Oh, I love this.
So one of my clients picked up some global responsibilities, and yet was trying to figure out, how do I get some balance in here, right? And so he was in another country on at the end of a week, flew
Okay.
home, and was supposed to be back in that same country the following Monday
Oh, one of those types of work. Yeah, that's
to
rough.
attend a meeting.
Okay.
And so what he did, I don't know that he ever thought of this word essentialism, but the idea was, what he looked at was, how critical is it that I personally be in that meeting?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. And I know they'd appreciate, these people we're meeting with would appreciate my being here. But will the outcome of the meeting actually be any different because I flew back over there?
Uh-huh.
And
Great
his
question.
conclusion was, or all that time I'd spend in the air and in that meeting, if I could focus on this other thing, it would take the company forward more.
Hmm.
And he made a decision to do that. And I think what he learned from that informed future decisions.
I really love that. And I honestly, Terry, this is not about me, but I can certainly so identify with this because I've been involved in so many things in building ePresence, and there are things that are coming up on my radar that I'm starting to. I don't really need to do
Yeah.
that, and I don't really need to spend time involved in that because of that exact thing. But it's hard, I would even argue that it's probably good for him to go, if that is a reoccurring meeting, kick it off, but then don't go back. Maybe be there to
Yeah.
set the tone, but you definitely don't have to go back and forth. That's traveling overseas is a huge time commitment.
Yep.
All right, I would be embarrassed if I did not ask you something about your art, the work that you do as an artist, especially when it connects to business. Is there a connection between being an artist and your business acumen, or someone's business acumen? And if so, what is that, and how does it manifest itself?
Well, for me, I used to try to make those things mutually exclusive. They're
Sure.
not. They're just not. I
Wow.
can't. I can't do this. I can't separate them. But it doesn't have to be art. It's something creative. But for me, it's got to be art. And I realized, Mark, that for me as a coach in particular, that my coaching work supports my art, and my art supports my coaching in terms of how I think. And a great way to illustrate this is, I actually ran a sip and paint workshop a couple of weeks ago for coaches. The
A
only
sip
attendees
and
were
paint. I
yeah,
love that.
cocktails
Okay.
and paint.
Yeah.
You can decide which one was more occupied, but uh, but the point of it was that I wanted to illustrate for coaches how these things interact, and it
Right.
might open up their thinking. And so I picked a few terms, but one of those terms, for simple example, is perspective. In art, the perspective is critical. In other words, if you
Sure.
go look at a building from the side, you think the building's the same height in the back as it is in the front. And
Right.
in reality, it is. But if you draw it that way, it's going to look clunky
Right.
because your eye, it recedes. Or things further back from you have what's called atmospheric perspective.
Hmm.
They're not quite as clear. They're further away. And
Huh.
so I think, as a coach and as a leader, we come into decisions, or we come into situations with stuff that's our perspective on it. We've kind of got our history, we've got our experience, whatever it is. We've formed a perspective,
Right.
but we have to open up to different perspectives. Somebody else might see it slightly differently. And I like to use a Rubik's Cube as kind of an example. If you look at it one direction, it's a square. If you
Right.
turn it sideways or you turn it upside down. And to me, as successful leaders need to be able to turn the cube around.
Mm-hmm.
And many times that's simply getting other perspectives.
Oh, interesting.
The other
Yeah.
thing I was thinking about, because I could give you hundreds, but one other is the idea of in learning to paint. If you look at one of the paintings right behind me, the one at Sydney Opera House, one of my first paintings.
So you painted that. That's yours there over your shoulder.
That's mine.
It looks great. No wonder it's on your wall and not mine.
Well, you may be happy with it, and I'm happy with it, by the way. But back then, because I'm an engineer by early life, right? I started out with detail and stayed on detail throughout that painting.
Uh-huh.
And that painting probably took me 75 hours.
Wow.
It took a lot of time.
Yeah.
And what I have learned in my old age is that you paint large to small. You paint large shapes, get those right. Then you paint a little bit smaller, kind of refine that. And then you save all of your energy for the details that you want to bring out. Because you don't want to bring out necessarily every detail.
Right.
So you focus your time in the weeds, so to speak, in the stuff that's most critical toward that. So if you think of that, again, as a leader, somebody's got to paint the big picture.
Right.
Somebody's got to say, here are the key blocks, of what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then somebody else can start to refine that. And then it can be down to individual departments or divisions or whatever to put in the details. But the leader needs to start painting that big picture, because you're going to get to that detailed that you want to emphasize quicker.
Oh, I love that. I love the analogy, and it makes total sense. And looking at that painting over your shoulder, so you painted the Opera House, and what are those considered sails on top of the Opera House? I guess
that's what they like to refer to them, because if you're ever on Harbor Bridge in the summer looking at that, the water will be filled with these magnificent sailboats with spinnakers.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
cool.
Yeah.
So you started painting that large part first. You started with the sails and maybe the walls around it, and then later. And I'm looking at that at the fence that you have there, because that it starts small and it gets larger as it comes across the screen or across the painting.
Right.
That looks like that took a lot more work than potentially those sails.
I would. It's been too long, or I could probably tell you how many times I painted that fence and painted over that fence and painted it again. But interestingly, Mark, to illustrate my point to the same thing about the idea of big to small, had lunch with a friend yesterday who's been following my work as an artist.
Right.
And he said, "What's happened? You are producing a lot more artwork." And I said, if I boil it down, it's this principle: bigger to smaller. And so if I were doing that painting today, it wouldn't look exactly like it, but it might be 5 or 6 hours versus 75 hours or whatever it was.
Sure.
So
I love it.
Gets me what I would consider a better result at the end of the day in less time.
No, I think that's fantastic. And the connection to business, I think, is just really brilliant. As I look at a building and I can paint it and visualize it on this side, there's something else on the other side of that building, which is a different perspective. And it's important that I keep in mind that there is another perspective of that building. But I still have to remember what's essential. And maybe what's on the other side of the building isn't essential, but it's important that I'm aware, because it probably informs my how do I get to my essential work. I think that I love how you put it all together. I think it's brilliant that you execute it with your own paintings, and there's something that you get out of paintings, it is truly a hobby that you relax doing. Is that right?
It very simply, it's my escape.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, all right, Terry, I could ask you another question, but I'm not going to. We've hit our limit on time. Share with our audience where people can find you.
The easiest place is warrenexecutivecoach.com.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
Easy
Or
enough.
if you will look at the art side, it's terrywwarren.com. But from the coaching side, it's Warren Executive Coach.
Perfect. And I got a feeling if we go to warrenexecutivecoach.com, we'd probably be able to track you down on the painting side as well.
There's probably a way, yeah.
That's probably there. And for all of you that are watching, if you're wondering how to connect with him on all the other places that he's out there, because I know he's on LinkedIn, for example, we will put all of those links in the show notes. Terry, I love it that you spent time with us today. You're brilliant. Plus, you're just a quality guy that clearly cares about people and are willing to help the people that are around you. So I do appreciate you spending time with us today. Thanks for being here.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
So, folks, this is one of the great things that we do here on How's Your ePresence. We're always looking for ways that we can help you business people do something a little better. We're typically focused on exclusive marketing, but every once in a while, we run across a gem like Terry Warren, who just simply can breathe life into some of the other things that we need to be aware of. The Essentialism is the word of the day. I'm going to go get that book because I need to know more about those things that are really essential in business. I think that is a great way of looking at that. So, folks, who are we at ePresence? We are a full-service social media agency. That means that we help you do everything on social, from company social media management to executive management on LinkedIn. We do it all. We help companies let me put it this way. We activate company social media if it's not activated, or we take it off the company's hands. They say, we want somebody else to do this for us. We'll do it for them. We'll do the creative. We'll even take care of the ads for them. So we can take care of that entire social media piece because that's what we focus on. We do social media. We also help the executives get online and stay online so we can complement both sides of the social media spectrum. We also offer consulting. So if you'd like for somebody to come in and tell you what you can do on your social media to make it work better, we can help you with that. And we offer training for those executives out there or the salespeople who need help on social media. Typically, we're talking about LinkedIn. How can they clean up their LinkedIn profile? If you would like to see us or talk to us or even get a consultation, pop on our website. Go to, and I think Morgan will put this link up on the window because I can never remember it, e-pr.me/listener. If you go there, we give a 5% discount just by being a listener on all of our services. Pop in there, and I will tell you, you're probably going to do it because inflation is here. Our costs are going up. I think we're going to have a price increase coming up here. So I would jump in there and take advantage of that 5% discount on our current prices because, just like all of you, we're all dealing with increases in prices right now. My last page, I don't have on my script. So Morgan, I'm going to run from memory. Here's what we do. This is How's Your ePresence. We are a podcast. We run on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Catch us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We're so happy to be on Twitter now. Also, we're going to drop this show and all of our shows on Fridays on a podcast. You can find us on any podcast channel anywhere. But the thing that's important is wherever you are watching us now, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button over there. And that way you get notified when we go live. The show is produced by ePresence. Our producer is Morgan Wood. She is our senior ePublicist as well as the producer for the show. We get so many accolades about the work that she does here. So Morgan, thank you so much for the work you do. For my guest, Terry Warren, I am Mark Galvin, and we want to say thank you for watching How's Your ePresence?